yours truly, Brevin Thompson, is back to continue my fourth annual Halloween special with Drag Me to Hell, which was directed by Sam Raimi and stars Alison Lohman as a loan officer named Christine Brown who evicts an old woman from her house. And that old woman places a curse on Christine, and she becomes plagued with a lot of strange events, with a demon relentlessly tormenting her and threatening to pull her down to the depths of hell within 3 days. Now, when it comes to this film in particular, I kind of ignored it for some reason. I've seen posters of it. I didn't see this in theaters back when it came out in '09 because I remember my mom seeing a poster of that. She's like, "You can't watch that." So my parents were kind of iffy on me checking out certain horror films, especially ones that dealt with demons and stuff like that. But when it came to this film in particular, I kind of ignored it for a number of years, and until recently I checked it out on Blu-ray. I mean, I owned a Blu-ray for it, and I didn't check it out until I decided I wanted to do it for the Halloween special this year. And I really come to respect this movie, mostly because, I mean, it's Sam Raimi returning to the horror genre again, after he just finished doing the Spider-Man trilogy. And I do respect him for trying to go back to his roots, because a lot of horror fans are mostly familiar with the Evil Dead trilogy. And of course, as you all know, I love Sam Raimi. I love the Evil Dead trilogy. I love the Spider-Man trilogy. And when it comes to Drag Me to Hell, I do think it's a good movie. So I decided I wanted to talk about it, but right before I get on to my thoughts on the film, I do have Sarah of Horror collaborating with me for this review, and I'm really happy to have her joining me for this review. But before I get on to discussing what I thought of the film, it's your turn, Sarah.
So, hi and welcome to my review of Drag Me to Hell. And I want to thank Brevin for allowing me to review this movie with him. So, thank you so much. So, Drag Me to Hell, it's from 2009 from the US. It's directed by Sam Raimi. It's written by Sam Raimi and Ivan Raimi. It's starring Alison Lohman, Justin Long, Ruth Livier, Lorna Raver, Dila Brow, and David Paymer. So in this one, Alison Lohman plays a loan officer who evicts an old woman from her home, and she suddenly finds that she has been cursed. Yes, a curse has been set up on her, and she does everything to get rid of the curse. So when I first saw this, I saw this when it came out in cinemas quite a long time ago, and I just fell in love with the movie. I really liked the concept. I really liked Alison Lohman's character, like the way she portrayed that character. I also liked Justin Long's character, and that woman who put the curse on her. We have a few quite spectacular scenes with her. Yeah, one where she's pouring stuff out of her mouth onto Allison, and then we have a very special scene where Allison and her boyfriend Justin, they visit Justin's parents for a dinner, and then a fly ruins that dinner. Yes, I like this movie because everything just gets worse and worse and worse. Nothing gets better. And I really, really like that. Because, you just have anxiety throughout the entire movie because nothing gets better for Allison. And she's just fighting this thing. She's trying everything to get rid of this curse, but nothing is working. And I have to say that I do love the ending. I think that it ended really, really amazingly. Yeah, just that imagery and that how the scenery, just it was a perfect ending in my opinion. I know not everyone likes this movie, but I really, really like this one. So if you haven't seen it, please check it out. And here is my copy of Drag Me to Hell. Yes, it's a slip cover. And it's one disc. But just one extra features, production diaries. Yes. But I am giving Drag Me to Hell a 9 out of 10. I really, really like this movie. And I think that the pacing in this movie is also really, really good. Okay, So once again, thank you, Brevin, for having me, and over to you. Bye. Also, if you're new to my channel, if you haven't seen me before, then I am Sarah of Horror, and please go to my channel and subscribe and check out some of my reviews. Yes, and thank you, Brevin, for having me on your channel. Happy Halloween.
So how things play out in the film with Christine trying to do everything that she possibly can to try to lift this curse, the things that she does throughout the film are a bit questionable, especially with one scene with her. Well, I'm going to get into some spoilers, so if you haven't seen the film, that's your warning. I do recommend checking it out, though. When it comes to like one scene where she's being tormented by the demon, uh, after she goes to see a fortune teller who's played by Dilip Rao, I hope I said his name right. If I pronounce it wrong, I apologize. Um, One of the few suggestions from the fortune teller is that she sacrificed an animal to the demon, and she kills a fucking kitten, a really adorable kitten, and I'm just like, oh, I love kittens. I like cats. I'm an animal lover, and it was definitely fucked up. And she kills it like stabbing it like brutally, and it's just like there's definitely some gross moments in the movie, and especially like in one scene where she tries to visit the old lady who like cursed her to hopefully try to get her to reverse the curse, but it turns out that she's already dead, and they already have like a few, quite a lot of people for her funeral, and she accidentally knocks the corpse over, and it starts barfing on her, and it's just, ugh. And another really gross scene is when she's at work and it looks like she's having a nosebleed, and she pukes out a small little geyser of fucking blood at her boss, and it's just like, oh yeah. When you have stuff like that, you know it's a Sam Raimi movie. This one suspenseful moment with Christine fighting the old woman in her car is really well filmed and edited, uh, and when it comes to the moments with her just using the stapler as a weapon against the old lady, I mean, there's moments in this one scene that made me just wince a little bit. Another thing that I like about the film is Christine's relationship with her boyfriend, played by Justin Long, of all people. It's good to see Justin Long give a good performance in this film, and I do think that he and Alison Lohman do have really good chemistry. And at first, he is really concerned. I mean, like how she's like been handling things for the past few days, and especially with all these strange events that have been happening around her. It takes him a while to actually accept what the hell is going on. And when he finally accepts what's going on, he even flat out pays $10,000 to the fortune teller to take him and Christine all the way to Pasadena to take them to a woman who can help them lift the curse and get rid of the demon once and for all. And I like I said, I really like how they portrayed the relationship, and like I said, they have excellent chemistry. So they perform a ritual to try to like get rid of the demon, and they try to like pass the demon spirit onto a goat. And once the demon possesses the goat, I mean the animatronic that they use for this, I mean, it's kind of hilarious in a way. It's just, uh, the head of the goat. I mean, it's clearly an animatronic. Is just like, oh my god, that is hilarious. I mean, that's one thing that that Drag Me to Hell was kind of criticized for at the time, was bits of its humor, which kind of puzzled me in a way, because I don't think anybody at the time were familiar with Sam Raimi's work on horror, mostly because in the 2000s, a lot of people mostly knew Sam Raimi because of his work on Spider-Man. And when it comes to his work on the Evil Dead movies, in particular Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, there's tons of humor in those films. And them having like a few people like criticize the humor that's in Drag Me to Hell as well. I find that just a bit of like what? Um, I'm kind of like, are y'all not familiar with Sam Raimi's style of filmmaking? And it's just like, come on. So Christine discovers that the best way for her to finally lift the curse once and for all is to pass the cursed object to someone else. And the cursed object was a button that was on like her jacket that the old woman ripped off and cursed it with. And so the best course of action for her, I mean, there's like this one scene. I'll get to what she does later. Uh, we get this like one scene of her in the diner, just like looking at like people to get the button to, and she eventually like spots like an old man who is dying, and she considers like passing the button to the old man, and she immediately changes her mind, and she even tried to call a coworker who's a bit of an asshole to try to pass the button to him, and she changes her mind. The movie mostly deals with her trying to like deal with very tough decisions, and I kind of like that. And she eventually goes to the old woman's grave. I mean, the old woman that cursed her, digs up her grave and shoves the envelope with the button, I mean, supposedly, down her corpse's throat, and she thinks it's over. And how the film ends, that was definitely like, they had the balls to do that. So what happens is Christine meets her boyfriend at the train station, and he reveals the button to her, and she believed that the button that was in an envelope, and she accidentally switched it with a different envelope, and right when she like falls onto the train tracks, that's when she begins to descend to hell with the demon hands just dragging her down to hell. And to it kind of leaves me conflicted on, did she deserve this? Because I mean, she's a good person at heart, but she is mostly dealing with a lot of tough decisions throughout most of the film, and it kind of makes the old lady a bit of a hypocrite because she didn't pay her mortgage. Just pay your mortgage, lady. It's not that hard. And it's just like, that ending has real balls for me, and it's just, it's very unsettling. If you want me to nitpick this movie, there's like a few like scare moments that almost didn't work, and there was like moments that made me laugh just a little bit, and not to like tank the movie or anything, but there was some CG that just didn't work for me, and I wish that most of it was mostly practical, like it was in the Evil Dead movies. And sure, the Evil Dead trilogy used a bit of stop motion, but it's mostly, I mean, practical and in camera in those films. But they use a bit of CG in certain sequences, and like there's one moment with Christine in a tool shed, and she's like being tormented by the spirit of the old woman, and she has like her arms like shoved down her throat, and she like cuts off a rope, and she has the old woman's spirit has like this weight like dropped down on her head, and she has like an eyeball just like fling right into Christine's face, and of course there's blood everywhere. And the moment, I mean, where the eye just pops out of her skull, and it's CG, and it's just like, I wish it was a bit practical. I just wish. I mean, just go for. I mean, just minimize the CG just a little bit. I mean, they don't like over rely on it. I mean, it's practical for the most part. I mean, like how they handle like most effects in this film. I mean, CG, I mean, I like how they use it sparingly, but I mean, in that one scene, I just didn't work for me. So when it comes to Drag Me to Hell, I do think it's a pretty good horror film. It's nowhere near as like amazing as the Evil Dead trilogy, and this came out at the time when Sam Raimi was finished with his Spider-Man trilogy and going back to his roots on like directing horror films. And whenever Sam Raimi directs a new horror film or is attached to a horror film, I'm always excited to see what he brings to the table. And I cannot wait to see what he does with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I cannot wait to see that and what else Sam Raimi does in the future. I mean, whatever he does, I'm always ready for it. So I'm gonna give Drag Me to Hell a B plus. So what did you think of this movie? Let me know in the comments below. And guys, thank you so much as always for watching. And a big thank you for Sarah from Sarah of Horror for collaborating with me for this review. You're the best, and thank you so much. And as always, looking forward to doing more videos really soon. And if you want my thoughts on old or new films, of course, you know where to find me.